That's Tony Hancock in. Hancock's half hour.
We've got a really intelligent chap as our next customer, Sid. One of the intelligentsia, so keep a low profile, will you? So a bit of deference to people who are much brainier than you, Sid. And it will probably be better if you hid somewhere. Are you trying to say I'm thick, Hancock? I'm actually a member of Mensa. You didn't know that, did you? I bet you don't even know what it stands for. Of course I do. It's military engineering what's it? Unlucky, Hancock. It's an organisation for brainy blokes like me. You're not brainy. You should be in the other lot, like the Society for Very Ordinary Dim People. That's not funny, Hancock. I am intelligent. I do the Sporting Life crossword every Saturday before lunch. Sporting Life crossword. Don't make me laugh, Sid. A child could do it. Read me one of the clues. Here's one. 10 across, 6 letters, beginning with J and ending with Y. Right. Begins with J and ends in Y. That's jockey, of course. It's easy. That's where you're wrong, Hancock. The answer is Jackie. Nonsense. It can't be. What's the clue? Always as the whip hand. Always as the whip hand. There you are then. Jockey. Bad luck, Hancock. The editor of the Sporting Life is called Jackie, and she always has the whip hand in the Sporting Life office. How was I supposed to know that? You should read the Sporting Life, shouldn't you? Second letter in the answer is a J. You jump to conclusions, but you're not as brainy as what I am. A man of my intellect isn't interested in the Sporting Life crossword, and neither is this very intelligent fellow we've got coming round. He's a doctor, Sid, a top surgeon. His IQ is through the roof. He will look down on you from up high, as if you were an ant. Not all doctors are intelligent. I've known some really sick ones. One doctor I had thought my T-shirt was a blue tattoo. You wouldn't believe it, would you? Perhaps he thought I was a smurf. Doctors are all intelligent, Sid. They have to study at university for 6 years. I studied for 6 years. Oh, no, you didn't. What university did you go to? Wormwood Scrubs.
Good morning, gentlemen. Is this the residence of Hancock's Heroes? My, you are looking peaky. I'm not surprised with all the mess lying around in here. We haven't been introduced, Mr.
It's Inspector Hancock, actually. This is my little empire that I've been building, and that's my wingman, Sergeant James, over there.
It doesn't look like an empire to me, more like something off the coast of a mosquito-ridden banana republic with vermin.
Thank you. Yes, very kind. We've only just started, as it happens. Sid's turn to clear up, isn't it, Sid? You said I looked a bit peaky.
Yes, but don't worry, it's not often fatal. You can get a jab nowadays. It doesn't work very well, but you should be used to that. Any old rubbish will do. Just wave it at the plebs and they'll stick it in their arms, won't they?
Couldn't perhaps give me a diagnosis, could you, Doctor? It's not COVID, is it? Or monkeypox?
No, it's worse than that, but never mind. What did you want to see me for? I don't usually make house calls. I'm a very busy man. Many people depend on me. Some are hanging on to life by a thread. A thread, I say.
I'm afraid your hospital rang us about a disciplinary matter. They want us to deal with it. It's very sensitive, so they don't want the police involved.
Well, what have they been saying about me? There's a lot of jealousy in the operating theatre, you know. Everyone wants to be the man wielding the scalpel. I'm sometimes very lucky if I last a shift without finding it plunged in my back.
Yes, quite. How terrible for you. Could I just ask you, Dr. Death, what you said earlier about me having...
It's death, not death. It's no good being a surgeon if patients think your name is Death. It would scare the living daylights out of them. They might think I'm out to kill them, for God's sake, and I'm not, I can assure you. What's the odd nicked blood vessel, I'll ask you.
Yes, I quite agree, but I'm sorry to trouble you, Dr. Diaz. You said I was looking pasty. What do you think I've got? The hospital has charged you with clinical negligence, Dr. Diaz, because you left the operating theatre to get a McDonald's a McDonald's double cheeseburger and chips before the operation was finished. So, in your own words, could you tell us what actually happened?
I don't usually touch that rubbish. I was feeling peckish. All that blood gets the juices flowing. The patient was like the inside of a Big Mac, oozing with blood. I'm a hard-working doctor. My intelligence is 10 times yours, and I burn a lot more energy with my copious grey matter than you two do in your old bodies. Dangerous to proceed. I need a regular top-up, or my hand starts to shake.
But Dr. Diaz, the McDonald's was 40 minutes away, and the man in the operation nearly died. Couldn't you have chosen a better time or a closer restaurant?
What's he got to complain about? I resuscitated him when I got back and gave him a bite of my Big Mac. I also gave him a few of my chips when he came round, as well as a McFlurry for the anaesthetist. I don't just think of myself, you know.
Unfortunately, the hospital still isn't happy. The patient distinctly said he wanted a KFC and not a McDonald's.
Well, that's just bad. I would have preferred a 5-course meal, but I chose McDonald's, and he should be grateful for what he got. Have you tried the food in the hospital canteen? It's disgusting. If you're trying to make me out I was wrong, I demand that I be tried by a jury. That won't be a jury of my peers, as I'm peerless. But give me my day in court, won't you?
Well, it looks like you're going to have to meet Judge See-Through then, Dr. Diaz.
Judge See-Through, you say? Oh, good.
About my chronic pastiness, Doctor. Usher, read this. Do you realise you could give someone 5 years for just being overweight? Are you quite sure, Your Honour? Let me have a look. It says abuse, not obese, Your Honour. Oh, fiddlesticks. Ignore what I just said and contact Mr. Smith. He was in the court 3 weeks ago, and tell him I made a mistake, Usher. Who's next to take the witness stand? Sir Dr. Diaz of East Cheam Hospital. I know a Diaz, a fine bridge player and member of the East Cheam Male Voice Choir. He's a good friend of mine. Has somebody been upsetting him? It makes me so angry, that sort of thing. I'm afraid he's been upsetting the management of the hospital, Your Honour. Well, send him along. We'll soon sort any nonsense like that out in a jiffy. There's one problem, Your Honour. I'm afraid he's with Hancock's heroes. See the swine. If they've hurt a hair on Diaz's head, I'll prosecute them myself. They're hard-left activists.
Good afternoon, Magnus.
Who's Magnus, for God's sake? I thought he was the bloke from Mastermind. Yes, pleased to meet you too, Jonquil. So soon after your triumph at the Surrey Bridge Championship last week. And who's Jonquil? Shut up, you two. Just sit there and be quiet. Don't get in the way while I sort this silly mess out, will you? Now, who has been making all these nasty, specious remarks about you, Jonquil? Do you have trolls in the hospital? I can sort those out for you, can't I?
Oh, I wish you would. I am a victim of an hate campaign involving the most vicious trolling you have ever seen. All I did was go for a bite of lunch. What am I supposed to do, bloody starve? I might have fainted on me patient.
Quite. Patient safety comes first as ever. It's a sad reflection of the times we live in, Jonquil. All the riff-raff are abusing the good and the great. However, just to be on the safe side, Jonquil, old friend, in your contract, does it say you're entitled to a lunch break?
Yes, it's in black and white. I am entitled to a 2-hour lunch break and 2 20-minute breaks for tiffin.
Well, there you are then. There is no case to answer. The charge is dismissed. I'll see you tomorrow, Jonquil, down the club. But would you perhaps like to share a burger with me now at the East Cheam McDonald's? It's closed. Why on earth is that? It's closed for lunch. Anyway, hang on a minute. There's £1,000 reward from the hospital riding on this. Did you know, Your Honour, that Dr. Diaz took his lunch break in the middle of an operation? Well, I didn't think it would be in the middle of a game of darts. You're a perishing nuisance, Hancock. I'm sorry to trouble you, Jonquil. Does it say in your contract that you can't take a lunch break when you are in the operating theatre?
No, it doesn't say specifically. There is no caveat as to when or where I take luncheon, Magnus, old friend.
There you are, Hancock. There's nothing to stop this fine doctor from having lunch whenever he wants to. So shut up and stop harassing him. I apologise if I am creating that sort of impression, Your Honour, but I'm not harassing him. The hospital want to give Dr. Diaz the shove. Well, there you are then. You are being vindictive and trying to ruin this man's reputation and wonderful career. The hospital want to give Dr. Diaz the shove on account of him leaving the patient on the operating table with his innards hanging out while he went out for a nosh.
Nosh? How common. I wish I hadn't gone to McDonald's in the first place.
I understand, Jonquil. We all have to grab a bite to eat when we can. But why didn't you go before you opened the patient up?
The patient was being a bit of a handful, and I had to slash away at him for about 10 minutes. I simply worked up an appetite. It's his fault. I needed to get my strength back before whipping it out.
Quite. You don't want to whip things out when you're weak, do you? You see, Mr. Hancock, Dr. Diaz is doing the right thing and putting the patient first. Health and safety. I'm sorry, Your Honour, but how can leaving the patient in the middle of an operation be in their interest? Oh, so you're a top consultant surgeon now, Sergeant Jane. Oh, no, but I do read the magazines in the waiting room down the doctor's. Shut up, Sid, you're not helping. Well, there you are then. You can shut up and leave this court to the more intelligent members of the community to pass their judgment on things you know nothing about.
Attaboy, that put the oik in his place. Good morning. I'm Mr. Thomas. What about me? Don't I have a say in the matter? I know I'm only an humble patient.
And what in hell's name are you doing here? I invited you. You're not one of Sergeant James' drinking companions, are you? I wouldn't be surprised.
Stop messing about. I was the patient Dr. Diaz was supposed to be operating on.
Oh, well, I suppose you can have your say. Very well, spit it out. What is it? We don't want you keeling over or dropping dead now, do we?
Everything was going well until Dr. Diaz dribbled melted cheese on me. It wasn't our fault, and it went all over me bits. And he used my stomach to rest the plate on, and I got a chip stuck in me belly button. I had to eat, didn't I? I couldn't put my plate on the operating table. You were lying on it. Hospitals, wretched patients everywhere. It's stretching me to breaking point.
Now, look here, Mr. Thomas. You're not one of these get-rich-quick insurance fraudsters, are you, who want to ruin a good doctor's reputation? Look at him. He's suffering. All this stress. He's clearly losing his marbles.
Yeah, steady on, old chap.
It's clear what's happening now. I am going to dismiss the case against Dr. Diaz on the grounds of diminished responsibility. But you can't dismiss the case against Dr. Diaz on the grounds that his responsibility has diminished. No, it's your diminished responsibility, Inspector Hancock. You have a persecution complex, and you are trying to persecute Dr. Diaz like this. Case dismissed.
Oh no, man. What are you doing?
Television presents Tony Hancock in
Fouling to steal a diamond ring valued at 20.